You know what I think would actually make a difference, Michael? If everybody here turned off your CNN, your Fox, just turn off the TV, MSNBC, blogs, and just go talk to folks out there instead of being in this echo chamber.
Turn off the cable TV, said the president, who was on cable TV, hoping people were watching him.
Maybe just a little bit more stage managed than the question time from last week. Top Line starts right now.
Hello and welcome to ABCNews.com's Top Line. I'm David Challey.
And I'm Rick Klein.
Each weekday we're bringing you the very latest political headlines, reporting, insight, analysis, everything you need and want to know about politics.
And it's twitter.com/The Note. You can check us out. Check out the blog, which was not on President Obama's Do Not Click On list.
There you go.
All
Neither
right.
was this show.
We're safe.
Get us started.
War at home. The pushback begins from the White House over terrorism policies and national security policies. A very aggressive White House letting us know about the outcome of some of the recent interrogations that have gotten so much heat up on Capitol Hill. It is an aggressive posture from the White House, but I think at the same point we have to be ready for a pretty significant retreat. There's growing opposition in Congress to allowing terror suspects to come to U.S. soil for trials. Inconceivable to me that the administration would even allow that to get to a vote. They've got to find some kind of a compromise.
Right. They're clearly feeling the heat from both sides, but when they start pushing back this aggressively, it does show you that this administration understands the politics of national security still exists as a political battlefield that they need to play on. And this idea that Susan Collins, that they highlight, was giving the Republican address pushing back on this idea of Abdul Muttalib not giving information while he was giving information, it's a pretty good talking point for the president. Question time, part two. This one not nearly as exciting, rather boring and stage managed. As Rick said, President Obama went to the museum today to talk to Senate Democrats in their caucus. And surprise, surprise, all the questioners almost seem to be embattled Democrats up for election this cycle. This was not at all about leading the national news tonight the way last Friday was. This was all about getting a local news clip played where the embattled Democrat can look like they're asking a tough question to the president, and it makes for a positive news package for them in their home markets.
And for as interesting as last Friday's exchange was, and that was one of the more extraordinary things I've ever seen on television in politics, this was equally uninteresting to my mind, just seeing Democrats kind of lay out their own personal agendas more than anything else.
Only those cable TV junkies will see it, though. It won't get wide play.
Indeed. Fighting ILLINI. The stage is set in Illinois. It is going to be a Senate showdown for President Obama's old seat. The Republican candidate, as expected, will be Mark Kirk, and will have a strong chance against Alexei Giannoulis in, of course, President Obama's old seat, which guarantees lots of national attention. And just over the board in Indiana, a big name gets into the race for Republicans. Former Senator Dan Coates taking on Evan Bayh, the Democratic candidate. He may have thought he had steer clear of any serious challenge when Mike Pence got out of the race, but he'll have a big name.
Maybe that's why he was allowed to sneak in that last question to President Obama at the event. He does have a race on his hands now, but we'll see. Dan Coates is not a fresh face. He's not a Washington outsider. Those are the kinds of things that seem to be working right now for Republicans, and putting an old sort of Washington lobbyist in there. I'm just not sure that this is going to be a massive battle for Evan Bayh, but it's one he's going to have to pay attention to. And Palin plays defense. Welcome back to the fourth slot, Governor Palin. She puts out a USA Today op-ed today where she is basically defending herself against this very controversial now for-profit event in Nashville, this national Tea Party gathering that's happening there. She's speaking, getting a fee, but donating it, quote-unquote, to the cause. But she wanted to announce some other dates, show it she's not just tied to this for-profit group. She's going to Harry Reid's hometown of Searchlight, Nevada, to kick off a Tea Party event there, leading up to Tax Day, or the day before she'll be in Boston on April 14th to a different group there. She wants to be everywhere inside this movement, and she needed to show that now so that people didn't think she was just associated with this for-profit group.
That's right. There was a choice here to either own this or not own it, and clearly this is a big fervor. They see a lot of benefit. The Palin people feel a lot of benefit in being part of this, and Searchlight, Nevada is not a big town. I've been to the Searchlight Nugget. You can get a good sandwich there, but there isn't much going on other than the fact that it's Harry Reid's hometown.
He claims he could get a 10-cent cup of coffee there at the Nugget.
I can't vouch for that.
Oh, okay. We're going to begin with the president's budget that has been top of the news this week up on Capitol Hill. We're joined by Republican Congressman Bob Latta of Ohio. He is a member of the Budget Committee. Sir, thank you very much for being here. I'd like to get your thoughts, if I may, just on the idea of the spending freeze for this non-discretionary spending that President Obama highlighted in his State of the Union rollout and again in his budget rollout. This is the kind of spending restraint that you guys on the other side of the aisle are looking for, at least a step in the right direction, no?
Well, actually, it doesn't go far enough because, you know, when you're looking at what they're doing, there's freezing at the highest levels of spending ever in federal government. budgets. And when you look what was added last year, you know, with the stimulus and the omnibus bills that passed out of here, when you're looking at you know, 12.5% increase in some of these departments, that's not where you start at. We need to go back a couple of years and freeze there, not at these absolutely high levels that we're at today.
So do you foresee any Republican support for this concept, or is the general thought this just doesn't begin to address the problems?
Well, you know, number one, we want to work with the White House, but we got to have a budget that we can work with. And again, I think that when you're looking at these numbers, the folks back home get it. When they hear that we're going to have a, you know, $1.8 trillion, or pardon me, a $3.8 trillion budget out there, and you're looking at about a $1.6 trillion deficit, folks are going to all say the same thing: how are we going to pay for this? And that's what Washington has got to get real about. They've got to understand that the folks back home are making sacrifices, and there are no sacrifices being made down here.
Congressman, one of the places that he sort of walled off from this budget freeze was the Pentagon defense budget. Is that a decision you agree with, or is there some weights there that he should be able to go after the Pentagon budget as well?
Well, you know, first and foremost, you know, I think every member understands that we're in a war on terror. And we have to make sure that our troops have the necessary tools at their disposal to carry out the mission that they're given. And, you know, I don't think anybody says around here that they want to just say we're going to just across the board cut military spending. And I think that, you know, what the president said was, you know, we'll start by saying that we'll look at non-defense discretionary. But, you know, there's a lot of things out there that we can look at, but I think that first and foremost, we want to make sure that our troops have the mission or the tools to carry out that mission.
Inside non-defense discretionary, of course, is agriculture funding, farm subsidies. You're a member of the Agriculture Committee, a big champion of local farmers. Are you comfortable with a spending freeze or effective cuts in the farm budget?
Well, you know, and again, you see, this is what we have to look at right now. We have to look at everything that's out there, and sometimes, you know, saying that, you know, if they're going to go in and make certain types of cuts, to see what they are. But I think, again, I think everyone understands we have to have some shared pain around here to make sure that this country is going to be where we are. Because, you know, last year alone we increased foreign countries buying American debt at $561 billion. We owe foreign countries now $3.6 trillion. You know, it's almost 50-50 now on who owns our debt, and it's just going to keep going up.
Very quickly, in our last 20 seconds, sir, when you say shared pain, are you behind the idea then that because of our current fiscal situation, it does make sense to phase out these Bush tax cuts from 01 and 03?
Well, I think that when you're talking about these tax cuts, I think that you know, when you look at what in the CBO director's testimony, they even say in there, but if you start making these tax cuts, you know, it's going to affect the economy, meaning that people aren't going to have the dollars to spend to get this economy moving. I don't think that phasing out these tax cuts is the right thing. I think what we start with is, you know, we don't have a revenue problem in this town. We have a spending problem, and that's what we need to do.
We know you need to get to some votes, so thank you very much for being here, sir.
Thanks very much. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Congressman.
Congressman Bob Latta, Republican of Ohio.